And we are live. What is up, everybody? Good to see all of you guys here. Bit of a quicker stream today. Not going to be super long, but I want to go over some groundbreaking developments that I did not intentionally even mean to cover. I was going to go live tonight and talk about Iran, and it seems like the Tate brothers have just been arrested in Miami after a United Kingdom extradition request. Prosecutors allegedly found more evidence from the already existing case, or maybe a new case from 2010 spanning to 2017. So it's real. I know a lot of you thought it was fake. I was reading the chat a little bit, but it seems as if though the Tate brothers are going to be flying back to the United Kingdom to face again more legal charges. This comes after no surprise of course, the Tate brothers facing a lot of legal prosecution from the United Kingdom, and several other countries I think were involved, including Romania as well, in their previous case. And what I largely think happened is most of these claims were dropped. Ultimately, they were acquitted of a lot of these claims. I don't know if it was entirely finished. I know some semblance of it was still going on and they were still fighting, as they had hinted at. However, it seems like it's all going to start back up, and this is pretty grim to see. There's a video of them being arrested right outside of whatever venue and or maybe stadium I think they were at. I don't have all the details. This just came out literally like 20 minutes ago. Last edited at 7:51 p.m. by Fearbuck on X. So this is really brand new news. Again, did not mean to go live and cover this, but it just popped up in front of me. And so I kind of diverted from everything that I was going over with Iran, freshening up on my Iran points. And we'll just quickly go over this story and see what's to come. Not many developments now, obviously, because of the fact that it just happened 10 seconds ago. But ostensibly, they are going to the United Kingdom from what I'm seeing. So here, let's take a look. This is the video. So that's Tate right there, of course. No surprise. This is Andrew Tate. I'm not sure if his brother was arrested with him. Okay, this looks to be Tristan right here with the hat and the suit. And these are U.S. Marshals, I believe, that are arresting them. I believe that's Justin Waller, one of their close accomplices as well, and or friends. Good friend of my brother as well. So, yeah. Crazy curveball, not something that anybody saw coming. Certainly not something I saw coming, but I haven't really been keeping up with the Tate's legal situation as intimately as others may have, so maybe this was obvious. I don't know if they were expecting it. It doesn't seem like they were expecting it at all. Crazy, crazy stuff. You know, pretty unfortunate here. Let's see, I got some more clips. I think I had a different angle. Let's take a look at this video here.
Mr. Tate, would you mind signing?
Hey, Tate.
Wow, that's crazy. He did not see that coming whatsoever. So here is the, I guess this is a U.S. Marshal. I'm not really good with all this legal stuff. Authorized personnel taking them in. So, yeah, I suppose they'll be taken back to the UK at some point here. I think I have the document pulled up. So here is Mario Nafal on Twitter. He kind of did a cover on it, or a story. Breaking: Andrew and Tristan Tate were just arrested by U.S. Marshals in Miami. The brothers were detained outside the venue as the UK's Crown Prosecution Service announced a wave of new charges and a formal extradition request. The new counts against Andrew: 7 further grapes, 3 of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 assaults, 19 charges relating to indecent images of child and or extreme, I don't want to say that word because we're on YouTube, but I'm sure you can kind of fill in the blank there. Tristan faces 2 additional grape counts, 1 sexual assault, and 3 trafficking facilitation charges. The alleged offending spans July 2010 to August 2017, with the case now covering 7 alleged victims on top of the original 21 charges. The CPS says both brothers await extradition proceedings to the United Kingdom and warned that criminal proceedings are active with fair trial rights intact. So here's a Crown Prosecution Service official statement, I assume. Following their arrest in the U.S., the CPS will be seeking their extradition in relation to the original 21 charges they face, as well as the further charges which we have decided to prosecute. So, yeah, I suppose they will be extradited. Pretty unfortunate. You know, you'd like to think that that case was done and everything was said and done with, it was all over, but certainly not the case there. It seems like the Tates are going to be fighting this legal battle once again, which I anticipate from the sound of all of these charges is going to be very, very long-winded. You know, so all of this is alleged, of course. Now, this is new. The child you-know-what. Again, I want to be careful here, guys, because YouTube really doesn't like these terms. But the child you-know-what is a serious, serious claim that previously was never brought up, if I'm not mistaken, in his issues prior with the Romanian government and or other official governments that persecuted him and his brother. Now, we're seeing this one, sexual assault, rape. I think that was a part of it prior. But for the child you-know-what, I don't know if that was actually included prior. This seems to be something that is new. And that is a horrendous and bad-sounding charge. Of course, we don't know all the facts. And likely a lot of this is not true. And that's because the Tate brothers fought for a year almost. And they were incarcerated for about a year. And this was a few years ago when they were released, and the government of Romania could not find anything on them. They contacted every single person that they had known for years, and to no surprise, they couldn't find any skeletons in their closet, despite how hard they tracked. I mean, they kind of interviewed people that they had known for years on end, interviewed them extensively, asked them tons of questioning, brought them through lines of questionings that's commonly asked for, you know, guilt by association, or if they were ever a victim of one of the Tate's crimes, all these things like that, and these legal tactics. But nothing was really ever uncovered that was groundbreaking. And I think even the vehicles that were seized by Dlock were given back to the Tates. So really, really crazy, crazy development here. But I must say, these charges do not sound light. You know, I'm not saying they're true. Of course, we don't know that. The last time around was bullshit. But the real problem now is this is going to seem like, or at least to me, on the front end of everything, on the surface, this seems like a long-winded fight in court. Long-winded trial. I mean, 19 separate charges. It says here the brothers were detained outside the venue of the UK's Crown Prosecution Service. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, 19 charges relating to indecent images of child and or extreme. You can fill in the blank there. So really, really crazy stuff. Not what I was expecting when I opened up my computer to go live. Because I swear to God, I fired up the live before I even knew about this. Actually, one of my good friends, Brett, he texted me. He said, hey, you're going to cover this, right? I said, cover what? When did this happen? I click on the X link and lo and behold, it's the Tate brothers being arrested. So certainly nothing we haven't seen before. However, you know, it's probably not going to be quick. I think we can all safely assume it's another Matrix attack. And, you know, this is just the nature of saying the wrong things and having a massive amount of influence and changing the culture amongst men worldwide and having kids tell their teachers what color is your Bugatti and things like that. They still do have, to this day, a decent amount of influence that puts fear in the hearts of many world-held establishments, like in the West, the UK government, the US government, I suppose. I think they had an issue with Ron DeSantis last year or something like that, or 2 years ago, so they didn't come to the U.S. for some time. But yeah, just when they saw the light at the end of the tunnel and they thought that they were done fighting this legal issue or all these legal battles, at least something as extensive as 19 charges, the hammer drops on them again. So yeah, seems to me like a Matrix attack. I mean, the child charge is just utter bullshit, you know, and everything else, of course, is bullshit. I assumed that'd be dropped really quickly, the child charge. Anything related to that, indecent images of that and whatever that even pertains to or what that consists of. Who knows what the extensive charges or what the evidence is for that or the supposed evidence. But everything else, so I imagine that will be dropped quickly or they'll be acquitted of that quickly. But everything else is probably going to be long-winded because it involves interviewing people that they had known prior and talking to these girls that have been in the party or been at the parties at their compound in Romania, things like this, people that they had known in the United Kingdom for years. So yeah, that's the way to start a Saturday night, I suppose. Some unfortunate news, rather unfortunate news. Regardless of how you feel about the Tate brothers, I think we can all safely assume a lot of these charges are probably not true. But that just shows, man, when you say the wrong things, you have to run in with the law. you have the run-in with people who are more powerful than you, the elites, the establishment. They'll ensure they make you run. They'll ensure they make you fight a long fight before they give up. And that's what they've done with the Tate brothers. So I suppose we'll keep up with that story. My brother's going to do a very comprehensive version of that story, I'm sure, when he goes live later on tonight, if not tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. He'll probably give you a lot more value than I can give you when it comes to that stuff. But that's the story on the ground, folks, as it sits currently. So crazy, crazy stuff, huh? But anyways, I wanted to go over the... So that's the Tate story. That's the Tate story in a nutshell. Again, for those of you who missed, I know the view count is kind of building up quickly. Andrew and Tristan Tate were just arrested, okay? Breaking: Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested in the Miami by the U.S. Marshal Service. Okay, I was right. Statement below from the UK's Crown Prosecution Service about additional charges being filed against the brothers. The Tate brothers are now facing a total of 59 charges, 42 against Andrew Tate, 17 against Tristan. Andrew Tate, 39, is being charged with 7 further counts of rape, 3 counts of arranging or facilitating traffic for sexual exploitation, 3 counts of assaulting occasioning actual bodily harm, and 19 additional charges for offenses relating to indecent images of child and or extreme fill in the blank. Tristan Tate, 38, is being charged with 1 count of sexual assault, 2 counts of rape, and 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitations. I'm sorry for the filler words, but again, the platform we're on, it's just a necessary evil. Then here's the video for those of you who have not been able to see it yet. I know a lot of you are jumping in here quickly. So that's Andrew Tate being arrested by the U.S. Marshal. That's Tristan over on the right. That's their cousin Luke. I'm just now noticing him. And then Justin Waller is there as well. I think he's in the gold suit. There he is.
Back up. Back up. Back up.
So,
Guys, back up.
Matrix Attack Part 2 begins, I guess. And here's some more video evidence. Nothing really interesting here. Maybe we can see them being directed into the squad car. So there's Tristan. And then I'm assuming Andrew went off somewhere else. We don't see him anymore after that part in the video. And oh, was Waller arrested as well? Oh, he wasn't. Okay. They're not going after Justin Waller, just the brothers. And I know you may have been in here from the get-go, but the view count just jumped up. So let me give you guys the lore again. Here's the official story, at least from Mario Nafal. No mainstream outlets have really reported on this yet. We know X is a lot quicker, so we'll take what we can get. But this is out of the TMZ. The brothers were detained outside the venue as the UK's Crown Prosecution Service announced a wave of new charges and formal extradition request. The new counts against Andrew: 7 further rapes, 3 of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 assaults, and 19 charges relating to indecent images of child and or extreme you-know-what. Tristan faces 2 additional rape counts, yada, yada, yada. The alleged offending spans July 2010 to August 2017, so 7 years worth of ostensible charges, with the case now covering 7 alleged victims on top of the original 21 charges. The CPS says both brothers await extradition proceedings to the United Kingdom and warn that criminal proceedings are active with fair trial rights intact. So, yeah, crazy stuff. Not, like I said, not what I thought I'd see. Well, we'll get into Iran here. If you missed the brunt of it, just go back, scrub back in the stream, and you'll be able to see. looking at the chat right now. So yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Not what I thought I'd open my computer to, but a lot of good stuff in the situation. Well, actually, bad developments when it comes to Iran. So if you haven't been keeping up, and I've covered it, but the war is changing constantly, and so I have to continuously update you guys. So far, obviously, as we know, the last 7 days have been the most brutal days of warfare between the United States and Iran. And that's because the United States has upped its aerial aggression against Iran, striking their coastline like they never have before since the outset of this war. And that is in response to Iran trying to control the Strait of Hormuz and striking vessels that were not utilizing the Iranian set waterways. Iran obviously wanted to impose their control of the Strait of Hormuz, which seemed to vaguely be a part of the memorandum of understanding, which officially Iran had denounced today. So that's great. And in this memorandum of understanding, Iran thought they had the promise of the United States and the guarantee that they would not interfere in the strait and maritime traffic. That wasn't the case. The United States had gotten involved with Oman, the country on the opposing side of the Strait of Hormuz, the 21-mile narrow passageway that's responsible for 1/5 of the world's oil. And in the United States' efforts, they were trying to guide ships out of the strait under Iran's nose, really, with the help of the Omanis, or really with the help of the United States supporting the Omanis. And so they were bringing these oil vessels and these very slow cargo ships, might I add, slow for a reason. That's why they got struck. And they carry tons of oil. These are not agile or mobile ships. They were carrying these ships and guiding them through these Omani set waterways, and Iran started striking them because, of course, Iran said, we control the strait, and the United States is not going to step in and undermine the lucrative gain that we have made from controlling the strait as a means of kind of compensating for the damages that we've received in this war and making us some money. So not only this kind of counts as reparations, but so Iran can stabilize their already very weak economy due to U.S. sanctions, and then the entire world treating them as a rogue nation. They don't really get to experience trade the same way other countries do because of the sanctions imposed on them by the United States as well as several other countries. And so Iran wants control of the strait, and the United States doesn't want Iran to control the strait. And so that has become the second big issue in all of this mess. The first big issue, of course, was Iran can't have nukes. Iran's got a bad regime. The people have got to take back the country. It's a terrorist regime. They're a brutal autocracy, theocracy, whatever it is. All the buzz terms that have come out the Trump administration from the likes of Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, for that matter, very early on at the RNC, which is something I never forget to mention because now J.D. Vance is playing it like he's not an Iran war guy when he is, but that's neither here or there, and we'll get to that later. But now the war has taken a brand new face. Now it's a fight for that 21-mile passage waterway, that 21-mile waterway that's responsible for a lot of oil that is being exported from these Gulf nations like Kuwait, like Saudi Arabia, and others. Now, have they found ways to kind of circumvent the matter with pipelines and other logistical efforts? Of course they have, but ultimately that waterway does need to be opened up for the economic bleeding worldwide, especially on the United States as well, to stop. And it seems like we don't really have the ability to get Iran to play ball with us because we cannot control Israel. Everybody knows that fact on its face. Israel is going to continue its offensive in southern Lebanon, despite what Donald Trump begs out of Benjamin Netanyahu to cease hostilities and pull back, at least for the duration or the remainder of this year. And that hasn't worked. We've tried the fake Axios reports. We've tried to make it seem like we have control of the situation. Hasn't really done much. To no success. There's still about 4,000 casualties on Hezbollah's side, which is the Iranian proxy in southern Lebanon, and the IDF. And they're currently fighting right now as we speak. They're fighting for control north of the Belfort Castle, which the IDF has seized control of, something that they have not seized control of since 2000, so the greater part of the last 26 years. And really, this is the greatest fighting we've seen between the IDF and Hezbollah since the outset of October 7th, and also really the 2006 conflict between Israel and the IDF, or sorry, Israel and southern Lebanon. So, you got all these things existing, but now the United States is desperately scrambling for control of the strait. And nothing has been a greater proof to that than the last 7 days of warfare. Why? Because the United States has actually been damaging a lot of military logistical infrastructure belonging to Iran along their southeastern coastline, as well as their southern coastline as a whole. They've been hitting several provinces like Qeshm Island, Bandar Abbas, Bandar Khamir, which is just west of Qeshm Island and west of Bandar Abbas, actually. And so, as a result, Iran has been kind of feeling the brunt of that aggression. They've been feeling the hole that the United States is trying to impose on them. Now, we all know what happens when the United States gets aggressive in its military offensive against Iran. We saw it in March. We saw it in some of April before we had that unofficial ceasefire that Israel sabotaged. And so we kind of know what this looks like, but this has kind of moved. Instead of us striking inland, like these nuclear facilities, or trying to find the centrifuges and trying to bury these underground passageways in these underground cities by covering them with rubble, with U.S. Tomahawk missiles and other military infrastructure that we possess. And now we're hitting the coastline so that we can kind of shy them away from trying to control the Strait of Hormuz. We want to move Iran away. We want to scare them out of trying to control the strait and really send the bigger message that we control the strait, and that's the way it's going to go if this war ends. And so this is a call for extreme escalation. And I was hoping within, the first 2 or 3 days, the United States would kind of just ramp back. And that was the nature of the last 2 or 3 months, right? if you've been paying attention, as we all know, Donald Trump would kind of say something on Truth Social, calm the oil market, calm the stock market, and then just turn around and bomb Iran anyways. In a dose of strikes, it would only be in some sort of dose, and then he would pull back and he'd say there's no issue, there's no war, we've still got the ceasefire, we've still got the MOU. And in the midst of all of this, Iran sat back and said there is no ceasefire. You just try to guide ships out of the Strait of Hormuz despite your promise to stay uninvolved, or at least your implication that you would stay uninvolved because you wanted a greater deal and you were willing to have a 60-day buffer of negotiations to finalize that greater deal. Now, the United States can't sit still while Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, because every single time they make money on these ships, we bomb them. So it's been cycles. We bomb them, we pull back. We bomb them, we pull back. And Trump says we've got peace. Iran says there is no peace, but we don't really know what's happening. Trump says we're talking to Iranian officials. Then Trump says we don't even know who Iranian officials are. There's no leadership left. All the while, the official Iranian officials, like Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, Mohammad Ghalibaf, the parliament speaker, and others, are saying, no, we're not talking to Trump. Our phone lines are open, or rather, we are open to talk to Trump. We are open to do a deal, but we have red lines. And there's several red lines that Iran had proposed, and they kind of differed and changed, and they were a little bit ambiguous, I must admit, but they've grown in boldness over the course of this war. But one of the ones that stayed consistent was a cessation of hostilities in southern Lebanon. And that's not really contingent upon the United States, that's contingent upon Israel. And now Iran doing that is kind of a two-part play. I suppose you can say it's 5D chess. One, they want to do that because they don't want the IDF to continuously try and weaken Hezbollah and destroy their strongholds and bomb their underground tunnel systems or whatever it is that they're going after. And they don't want they don't want Israel to take control of southern Lebanon, because that would be a great threat to the axis of resistance, which is Iran's proxy network. They don't want them to have that kind of influence in the region, and they don't want Israel to get what they want, obviously, their adversaries. But another real reason why Iran set that red line, whether it was indirect or direct, it showed everybody something greater, is that Donald Trump cannot control Israel. Now, we all know that. Okay, we all know that. We all gathered that. Netanyahu visited Trump 7 times since he started as president in 24. And so there's no secret there. He got him to bomb Iran. No secret there. We know Bibi pulls the strings, especially when it becomes, invested into Israel's interests. But I must admit, Iran drawing this red line, saying no hostilities in southern Lebanon, really showed the world, wow, the United States has no control here. Because had we had control, we would have heard Iran's demand and said, oh, no more hostilities in southern Lebanon, which, by the way, Trump was calling for since April when he had signed his official ceasefire with Iran. So Trump wanted the ceasefire on April 6th. And what did Israel do on April 7th? They bombed Beirut 100 plus times. And so it was a direct sign. It was a direct signal. And it was the greatest example. If we ever needed a better one, we wouldn't get it. That Israel does what they want, and we really have little say as to what they're doing, especially in the Middle East, which is a region that we are supposed to be controlling, not Israel. And so Iran has effectively done this for the better part of the last 2.5 months, because the IDF and Hezbollah have been fighting endlessly. And now the United States has probably reached this state of limbo. It's already kind of been in limbo, at least the peace talks, but we reached this crossroads where we either just let Iran take advantage of the strait while Israel makes peace impossible, and we sit here being the dumbasses with no off-ramp in this war because we've got to get the strait open, or we brutally attack Iran's coastline and forcefully take back the strait. And obviously, from the last 7 days, if it haven't told you enough, that's been the option. It's the latter, to take back control of the strait forcefully by bombing the coastline to shit, and that's exactly what we've done. The problem with this is, instead of our operation or our military goals in Iran being this temporary, short-term, short-winded military operation, right? The Putin special, the special military operation. It's going to be a quick in-and-out battle to take back the country and get rid of their nuclear programs and bring them to the table. Now, with bombing their coastline and battling for maritime control instead of maritime safety, which we're obviously not concerned about, it's really the control that we care about more, despite what Rubio says. Well, then that forces Iran to fight back just as hard. And the problem now, if you're not paying attention, Now we're moving from like maybe what could have been a 6-month tit for tat petty war with Israel in the middle of everything, turning into like a long-term forever war regional mess. And that's what all the signs are pointing to. Now out of CNN, ostensibly, Donald Trump is allowing Saudi Arabia to enrich uranium, which is a very vague but potential means of eventually achieving a nuclear weapon. And Saudi Arabia has always flirted with this idea. Mohammed bin Salman sat back down with American journalists a few years ago after several different interviews, and he was questioned on Iran, and the Crown Prince had said, well, if Iran gets a nuke and Israel already has a nuke, we've got to get one. And so now we're seeing higher hostilities between the United States and Iran. And Saudi Arabia is enriching uranium, which means they could be potentially racing to a nuke, is the official term. And so are we going to have a nuclear arms race in the Middle East as a result of this war? Because that's another back-end consequence of the bad choice and the bad decision of joining Israel and starting this war on February 28th, 2026. So now we have this vague arms race going on with Saudi Arabia trying to enrich uranium, not something that's actually conducive or beneficial for the goals of the United States, by the way, because how will we hedge our power and or leverage ourselves over a now nuclear state being Saudi Arabia? Well, we'll lose a lot of influence in that matter. So, you know, I'm not saying they're going to get a nuke, but they're enriching uranium. And not to be the bearer of bad news and make the generality here, it's probably because they sense Iran is going to race to a nuke now more than they ever have tried to, because they face an existential threat, and that existential threat just confirmed itself by bombing the shit out of their coastline for control of a 21-mile passageway responsible for a fifth of the world's oil, which Iran has used as its only strategic leverage weapon against the United States to fight back against its outsized military. Obviously, the United States' military, as paired along with Israel, by the way, is not even close for comparable in terms of fighting back for Iran. They can't handle the U.S. military. And so what better way to fight back? Strait of Hormuz. Well, the U.S. is trying to take that as well. And so now we are trying to take the Iranian regime. We're trying to take their nukes. We're trying to take their sovereignty. We're hitting bridges. We're hitting critical civilian infrastructure. And now we're trying to take the Strait of Hormuz. So one must think Iran has a pretty extensive stockpile of ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles as well, and they've got tons of drones. And the Persian Gulf is not far, or really, it's not a big gulf. It's not a big body of water. The UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the rest of the GCC sit innocently across that pond, waiting for Iranian drones to strike because of U.S. aggression, which has now become the case. 2 U.S. soldiers were just killed, I believe, today or what would have been technically last night, aggressive Iranian missiles striking an air base in Jordan. And so I have the story here. And the reason why this is so unsettling is because now this is introduction, or really opening the door wider for even more escalation. You know, we were just approaching the off-ramp. We were just approaching a potential peace deal. We had the MOU signed. People were a little bit hopeful. Well, now two U.S. service members were killed. And by the way, yeah, they died for Israel. And so you could think about the United States having to respond to this and what that response will look like and what that's going to motivate Iran to do in response and in retaliation against the Gulf nations, which was already the reason for all of this. They already were retaliating. So their retaliation is going to motivate our retaliation, and you can kind of see where this goes. It doesn't take a while before this turns into an absolute full-blown war. And I mean, it essentially already has been a full-blown war. But look, Carolyn Leavitt, White House press secretary, has always said, we are looking for peace. And she said that the other day to the press, and we are looking for a way out. And if Iran wants to talk, we're more than happy to step to the table. And the parliament speaker, Mohammed Ghalibaf, said, look, if they want to talk, we'll talk, but we can't give up the strait. But as these strikes go back and forth, those ideas and that rhetoric is fading away. It's really straying away. And before you know it, it's going to be a battle for full-blown regime change. We're going to be unapologetic about it. We're not going to lie anymore. And it's going to have to be a situation where we completely destroy Iran, or the war is not going to end and we're not going to get the strait back. And that may take years. And so when we tell you 4 or 5 months ago, this is going to be a forever war, everybody says, oh, that's preposterous. Oh, you're being dramatic. It can never be a forever war. Well, look now, 2 U.S. service members killed in an Iranian strike. We are several months into this war, over 150 days into this war, no change. Things have only slowly but surely escalated despite all of the regression. And anytime we take a few steps forward, we just take several more steps back. If we take 5 steps forward with the MOU, we take 10 steps back by striking Iran's coastline in control for the strait, or in an attempt to control the strait, and then they killed two U.S. soldiers. So, you know, it is not a good situation currently, which is why I chose to go live. And this is ostensibly the footage here on X, so we can take a look at this. Footage by a U.S. soldier at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan, where the U.S. military is defending apartheid Israel from the consequences of wars it starts. At least 2 soldiers were killed in this retaliatory Iran attack. Many are injured, and several among them aren't expected to make it. These U.S. service members were sent to die for Israel. There's no way around that fact. So we'll take a look at this video, and this video is crazy. There's another one. Wait for it. So that's it. But yeah, I mean, that was really close. Really close. So that's the situation on the ground in Jordan, at least what it was as of earlier this afternoon. And, excuse me, I have this article here pulled up. Yeah, guys, we went over the Tate story. We'll keep up with developments as it goes on. But I want to get into this article here because the situation in Iran just got far worse. So let's see. This is out of NBC News, not our favorite outlet, but we'll work with it. Centcom, or actually, let me start from the top here. I'm sorry. 2 U.S. service members were killed Friday while defending against an Iranian ballistic missile and drone attack in Jordan, and another service member is missing, U.S. Central Command said Saturday. Centcom said the troops were killed in action as U.S. and partner forces responded to the attack. It did not specify where in Jordan the attack occurred or provide additional details about the circumstances. The U.S. began launching retaliatory strikes against Iran at 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday at President Donald Trump's direction in order to swiftly punish Iranian forces for the attack, Centcom said in a statement. Do you see the escalation here? Swiftly punish. Centcom said that the strikes were also intended to weaken Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, marking the latest move by the U.S. to pressure Tehran to give up its control of the critical trade route. So they're not even lying about what they want here. Straight up honesty. 4 other American service members were medically evacuated to hospitals in Jordan, but have since been discharged, Centcom said. Other personnel who were evaluated for minor injuries have returned to duty. Centcom said it was withholding the identities of the 2 service members killed until 24 hours after their families had been notified. The attack comes as the conflict between the United States and Iran has intensified following the collapse of an interim ceasefire. The 2 countries have traded daily strikes over the past week, with Iran launching ballistic missiles and drones at U.S. military positions and American allies across the region, including Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain, while U.S. forces have carried out repeated strikes on Iranian military targets, and that would be along the coastline. Jordan said Saturday, and actually outside of the coast as well, even northwest of the coastline. Jordan said Saturday that its forces intercepted Iranian missiles and drones that Tehran said were aimed at an American military base in the country. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed at least 2 U.S. fighter jets were destroyed in the attack, according to Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency. NBC News has not yet independently verified that claim. So, whether it's true or not, who knows? Tasnim sometimes spews out some propaganda, but definitely not an ideal situation, and everything is pointing towards escalation. Tucker Carlson commented on it, and he actually made some good points about Donald Trump and his Truth Social posts and the reaction of Iranian civilians, which I think is worth reacting to. So let's take a look at that. Before that, we have some super chats. I'll read these and then we'll get into it. Like the video if you haven't, guys. Where's my water? Where's my water? I just had water here. You know, I started the stream fast. Oh, it's over there. Great. Whatever. We're going to thirst max. Michaka says, huge L for the UK. Yeah, nothing new. The UK is super cucked. Michaka says, 07. Here's some shekels. Chat, like the video. Thank you so much, Michaka, for the 15. Appreciate you, bro. Let's see. Uzumaki says, handsome Sudanese, nigga. Appreciate that, bro. Am I handsome? What do you guys think? I just visited my house, my parents' house. Went home to say hi to them. And my mom is like, you need to stop losing weight. You're looking sick. And I'm like, Mama, I'm shredded. I'm like, Mama, okay, I'm shredded though. She's like, your face is getting sunken in. Honey, you don't look healthy. I'm like, Mama, I'm shredded. Sneako in the chat. Hey, W Sneako. Down to Marco for our boy Sneako. W Riyadh stitching on Tate. Yeah, bro, I snitched. Very funny. What's up, man? You back from Medina? Hopefully you're all settled in New York City now. Inshallah, it was a good trip, bro. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was replenishing. I hope it was a spiritual one. It seemed to be from all your clips. I was really enjoying the content you dropped out there. The organic content, it's good. It's really good. I enjoyed it. So, W Sneako, thank you for the super chat, bro. Yeah, W Riyadh stitching on Tate. Very funny. Very good, very good. Shout out to Sneako in the chat. What was I saying? Yeah, so I love Sneako. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm home and my mom is like, oh, no fuck Sneakos in the chat, please, please. I'm gonna time you guys out. Please, enough Sneako hate. So my mom is like, oh, your face is so sunken in. And I'm like, okay, Mama, but I'm shredded though. Like, don't you see I'm in good shape? Like, still see the muscles a little bit. Vein popping through. And she's like, but your face is just too skinny. And I'm like, bro, okay, do older people not get it? Like, do they not get the aesthetic of being like lean? So whatever. But hopefully, yeah, I hope I am a handsome Sudani. 95% Sudanese, by the way, purebred. Purebred. Okay. Sub-Saharan monkey. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Are you and your brother okay with me starting a new clipping channel on YouTube and X? Just wanted to get your permission before I start. That's from Touch Grass. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Go for it. Thank you so much. And thanks for the super chat as well. Nav says, I like your monologue in the 9 to 5. I used to feel the same way. Then I took the orange pill. Take the orange pill just as important as taking the red pill. What's the orange pill? I'm unfamiliar. Thank you for the 5, though. Maybe it's a pill I need. I don't know. Yeah, working sucks, bro. I think everybody can agree with that. MB says, Saudi doesn't even have civilian nuclear plant. The House of Saud will fall before they even start building a program. Yeah, but it's look, obviously Saudi Arabia is not going to get a nuke. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is them wanting to enrich, them flirting with the idea is going to make other countries in the region want to enrich and flirt with the idea. So, you know, eventually that leads down this perpetuity. Eventually that leads down this path of now every country is trying to gain a nuke. And by the way, we are bombing the hell out of Iran right now, even harder right now as I speak to you in response for the 2 U.S. servicemen killed. And so, or the 2 U.S. soldiers killed. And so you got to think, if Iran was ever going to race to a nuke, I've always said this, it would be kind of like now. Instead of hedging and having the pieces in front of them and saying, don't attack us, we're going to build a nuke. Well, we already attacked them. So there's really no reason to refrain from enriching past 60%, which they likely have done. So I understand Iran, Saudi Arabia is not going to get a nuke. Duh. Saudi Arabia has no military capability whatsoever, especially without the U.S. They don't have shit, but it's just concerning that that rhetoric and that idea is floating around. You know, so let's hope it's bullshit and it falls flat on its face and it doesn't go anywhere. Like I said, I'm hopeful of that. I don't think it's the biggest deal, but these are the small things that people don't pay attention to. And then in 2029, 2028, whatever, in the next 2 or 3 years, Saudi Arabia is enriching uranium at a high rate, maybe 30%, a little bit past civilian numbers like 3.67, which I think it is, which is what Iran was at 2015, in 2015. But no, Trump said it wasn't good enough. But yeah, I know that. Lotus says this war is giving me anxiety. You know, I don't fearmonger, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Strategic reserves are running low. A lot of things are just not facing out and panning out the way the United States had hoped it would work, of course, because Trump didn't listen to his own intelligence. He listened to Bibi. I think you should bomb Iran. So, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Inflation's going to go up. Price of goods is going to go up. It's just the reality. I'm not saying there's going to be a recession. Some people are saying there's going to be a recession next year. I think that's up in the air, but we'll see. Riyadh says, bananas and rice. All right, bro. Thanks for the super chat. Take it easy. Take it easy. Look, no offense to the Somalians. Why are you eating shit with bananas? Can you niggas just, like, do the typical Middle Eastern thing and eat something with like bread. Like that's what everybody else is you know, Sudani niggas is eating, you know, whatever, kufta with bread. Egyptians are eating food with bread, which is like beans. And then you got Somali niggas mushing a banana into bread and rice and chicken, and it's like, it's almost like pick me. It's like, are you trying to be different? That can't be good. So, really weird. It's a joke, by the way, before Somalis start bitching and moaning. Take a break. Haid says, hello, Riyadh. Out of topic question, but which 3 books would you recommend in general to read? Thank you. I mean, it depends. What 3 books for what? For self-improvement? For history? Economics? It depends. It depends. I don't really read economic books or motivating books. I read like political books. But yeah, it depends on what you're talking about. MB says Somalis are Kushite kings. We don't conform. Okay. Have fun with your bananas and rice, nigga. Riyadh says facts. So crazy to me. LMAO El Somalia. Somalia always catches heat. I don't got a problem with Somalians. But yeah. Yeah. Yo, you want to know, Sneako, are you still in here? Listen to this. Yo, bro. I'm with my good friend the other day. I'm going to tell this story. I was so mad about this. I'll tell this and then I'm going to get into the Tucker situation. Or Tucker talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Because, like, we haven't heard about that enough already. One of my good friends lives in the apartment next to me. One of my really good friends. And honestly, I would dox his bitch ass, but he lives next to me, so I dox myself. And, you know, we always hang out and share conversation. Me and my friends just talk ad nauseum. We just share conversation. That's what we do. You know, I could be at my boy's crib. I'm sitting on the kitchen island. He's on the couch, and we're just like sharing conversation, talking about the future. Not talking about politics, you know, just talking about bitches and women and intersexual dynamics and getting money and his business, his family, my family, personal problems. So like we always kind of vent out to each other. We have these like therapy sessions, whatever. Sounds kind of gay, but whatever. Yeah, you guys already clipped up the hot Asian moment the other day, so I guess I'm screwed. But, you know, he's eating his food. He orders food. He says, yo, do you want food? I said, no, I'll go back. I'll cook my own food. And you know when you eat your food, you want to watch something, you have the iPad kid tendency. So this nigga sets up his phone, like on his water bottle. Props his phone up on his water bottle. Starts eating his food at the kitchen counter. And so I'm just sitting next to him as he's eating his food. And I'm assuming watching some video that wouldn't be me, right? And so, you know, I'm sitting there, we're talking, and he slowly disengages from the conversation and like starts watching what he's watching. So I go on my phone, whatever. I go on my phone, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm talking too much. This nigga pulls up a video of me and Sneako debating. And, you know, then he's like watching other videos of me breaking down Iran or like Ukraine. And I'm sitting next to him, still talking to him, like trying to get him into the conversation. And he just turns around and spazzes on me. He goes, yo, can you shut the fuck up? Like, I'm trying to watch this video. And I lose it. I spaz on him. I'm like, gang, you want to watch a video of me? I'm right here. You got the stream right here. Why are you? Could you imagine somebody watching a video of you in front of you, eating food, not talking to you? Like, this nigga's fanned out in front of me. Twin, I'm your friend. I'm your friend. You want to talk about Israel? I'm right here. Talk to me. Put the phone down. You know, I just got out of work. I had a long-ass work day that day. I finished at the gym. I was going to go live. I just wanted a quick break from, like, real life. I wanted to talk to him, enjoy some company. Hadn't seen this nigga in, like, 2 weeks. Bro, like an iPad kid, like a 10-year-old, props the phone up on the water bottle, eating his fucking healthy burger from this food joint around the corner, like, can you shut the fuck up? I'm trying to watch this video. I'm right here. So we got into a fight. I don't give a shit. Maybe he's watching this here. He'll see this clipped up. Nigga's gonna pull out a video of me in front of me. Could you imagine? And maybe it's like, not to sound pretentious or like conceited, it's hard to understand if you're not on the internet, but you know, I'm new to this internet shit. It's weird when someone watches a video of me right in front of me. What kind of autistic shit is that? So I was just so tight. He's like, hold on, bro. I'm trying to watch this video. I'm like, gang, bro, watch the video later. You have Riyadh's report in real life, nigga. Riyadh's report IRL right here. Ask me any question. Let's stream. Let's do the stream without the camera. That shit pissed me off. And it's me and Sneako in this heated debate about white people. And like I've heard the video 100 times. I'm not trying to hear it again. So yeah, that shit set me off. This was yesterday. Really wasn't happy about that shit. Wasn't happy about that shit. But it's fine. I told him I'd air his ass out on stream. Maybe said he's Riyadh maxing. Mofo goes Riyadh maxing. Yeah, thanks for the 2. Orange Pills Bitcoin. Take a deep dive on it. Completely changed your view on money. You're pretty smart, so you would get it. Yeah, I don't know too much. I'll get into it. I'm a baby when it comes to that. I'm a rook. I don't know my stuff. Said he was watching his favorite streamer, bro. Okay, but if you have a favorite streamer and that favorite streamer's in front of you, how about you talk to him? That's like me meeting Sneako and going, Sneako, I'm watching you. Let's watch you. No, talk to him. Oh, Sneako actually just called me. Like, bro. See if he answers. Don't ego me. Okay. Yo. What are you celebrating about? Okay.
Let's go!
Okay. Are you on stream?
Let's go!
This guy.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm listening. Okay, Sneako, come on. I'm live.
Ready, go force here. Hold on. Let's go!
Okay. Grow up, Sneako, grow up. All right, let's react to Tucker talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Sneako's a troll for that. But yeah, very funny. But yeah, by the way, in regards to the Tate situation, I covered it earlier, so scrub back if you missed it. It's in the very beginning of the stream. Like I said, I didn't even plan to talk about it today, but it just happened out of nowhere. So if you missed it, I'll quickly brief you because I was talking about Iran when the view count came up as well. Andrew and Tristan Tate were just arrested by U.S. Marshals in Miami. 49 charges, I believe, for each separate brother. Let's see, 42 charges against Andrew Tate, 17 against Tristan Tate. Andrew Tate, 39, is being charged with 7 further counts of grape, 3 counts of arranging, facilitating, trafficking for sexual exploitation, yada, yada, yada. And they're saying child you-know-what. Again, I think it's a matrix attack. I think it's all bullshit. I think the UK hates these guys because of their influence. And unfortunately, the battle is not done. So we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty sure most of these charges, especially the child ones, will be dropped. They'll be acquitted of them quite quickly. But yeah. So if you missed that, it's in the beginning of the stream. I went into the video and stuff. I don't want to play it too many times because I'm probably boring the people who have been in here. So just scrub back. It's all there. But let's see. Tucker is talking about the Iran situation. I think he said this yesterday. This is on Twitter as of today. So I don't know if this is an old clip, but we'll take a look at it. I thought he had some good insight. So let's give it a listen.
Knew that there was no military solution to this. I mean, literally up to and including the use of nuclear weapons, because for the Strait to remain open, you have to have a coherent government on the northern side of it. Well, on both sides, the Omani side and the Iranian side. And because pirates could close it otherwise, as has happened in the Horn of Africa. So, like, you could nuke Iran and still not guarantee that insurance companies will cover an oil tanker going through the Strait. It's just a fact. So, like, there's literally no military solution to this and never has been. That's just logic. However, what we've seen since February 28th is just and this is the thing that weighs on me the hardest, is just a ongoing, perpetually unfolding humiliation, where everything about what the United States said about itself, we're the preeminent country in the world, we've got the greatest military in the world, it's like all fake. And what are the ramifications of that? Because everyone's watching. People outside the United States, I can confirm, having spent a lot of my life outside the United States, pay much closer attention to what happens here than most Americans pay to what happens in their own country. How many people read Truth Social? Do you know anyone who reads Truth Social?
Yeah, not it. I read it, unfortunately, because I have to tell you guys what's happening. But if I didn't have to tell you guys what's happening, I would not read that shit. Yeah, we got some severe thunderstorms here in Connecticut. That was crazy. Did you guys hear that? I'm hoping you guys heard that. Did you see that light? You definitely saw it. Oh my God. That was crazy. Anyways, we'll continue the video, but hang on. Sneako just, yeah, that was crazy. Let's see. Sneako just chatted in. Oh, I have a couple super chats, actually. We'll catch up on these, then we'll finish the Tucker video. Because he kind of cooks here. Nah, bro, respect his decision. What the hell? Whose decision? I'm kind of confused what you're talking about, Jess. Thanks for the super chat, though. Riyadh, whose decision? I don't know what you mean. Riyadh says, your thoughts when Myron first started FNF? I knew it was going to take off because it went viral within the first few days. And he already had kind of some notoriety around Miami for his rage bait TikTok content. If you guys are really FNF OGs, you remember the video where Myron had the leather jacket against the wall? Was it against the wall? I can't remember. I haven't seen that video in so long. And he's like, what? I forgot the advice, but it was probably something similar to the tone of, you know, girl text you a flaky message, tell her fuck you. Now, I don't think that's what he said, but I think it was like, you know, if a girl texts you back after you ask her for a date and she says, I'll think about it, you say, no, it's okay, never mind, or something like that. It was one of those videos that went viral. So he was already catching a lot of heat in Miami. You know, a lot of people started watching him. He had built up an audience kind of in some way. He had his fitness business, and then he started Fresh and Fit, and that started taking off. He was doing a lot of self-help content, men improvement, all that stuff. And it was legendary, man. It was legendary. That show blew up fast. The Fresh and Fit come up was real. If you were there, you knew what it was. But yeah, when he first started it, I knew it was going to take off. Sneako says, the UK scared of their influence. They have no influence. Why are you coping? Ha ha ha. I mean, look, okay, Sneako, I understand you hate these niggas. Fair enough. But, bro, they obviously have influence. They obviously did have influence at one point. I'm not saying, are they as famous now as they were before? No, of course not. But they had influence. And so they still entertain the red pill talking points. Not as much anymore, but they did. And maybe that's a threat. But I think these charges that the UK government is re-pursuing is just them trying to get back. I think this never ended. They had a moment, they had a momentary or a moment of being able to breathe and not dealing with the law, not dealing with the prosecution, but it was never officially over. And I think that's what it was. They were acquitted of some charges, but not everything officially dropped. So I'm not super surprised to see it. It's like the last thing that would have been on my mind today when I opened my X page up, like Tristan and Andrew Tate arrested, sent back to UK. It's pretty crazy. So we will see what happens. We'll see what happens. But where were we with this Tucker video? It's raining like crazy here. Hopefully the audio's not picking this up too much. I'm sorry if it is. We've got to upgrade we've got to get some noise canceling foam in here so it's a little bit better for you guys, especially you headphone users. You can probably hear everything. But
everyone in Iran reads True Social, actually. And so when the president, you know, unleashes these bloodthirsty and blood-curdling threats at 1 a.m, most Americans have no idea that he's just said, I'm going to burn you all alive with nukes or whatever. Everyone in Iran is aware of that.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true, right? That's funny because, you know, we see these threats hurled at Iran and we're like, oh, that's not good. That's inhumane. A lot of the GOP actually didn't like those tweets. And I think in that same period where Donald Trump was threatening Iran, he also like posted a picture of himself being Jesus, like a psycho lunatic, you know, psychopath. So I thought that was funny. But imagine you're an Iranian and Trump is saying a whole civilization is going to end tonight, you know, and people think that these people are just not going to fight back. Americans think that this is just a terrorist regime. You know, I'm not saying the IRGC hasn't done wrong. We know what they've done in Syria. We know what they've done in other places. But ultimately, you know, these people are facing an existential threat. And this is the thing with Trump. This just comes to my mind now. You do realize, like, Trump is over here crying about election fraud and this address to the nation that we wasted our time reacted to on Thursday. He says, there was fraud. The Democrats were all over it. He says China was involved. And Trump has like had the world handed to him. Trump has 3 or 4 appointed justices in the Supreme Court. Trump has a majority representation of Republicans in the Senate and the House. Obviously, he has his executive branch as well. Trump has everything for a GOP to survive and thrive. Trump has literally everything he needs to enact his legislation, to impose his will as the leader of the United States, as the president, as the head of the executive branch, and he cannot get anything. It's still taco. Nobody's being deported, at least not at the numbers anybody was anticipating would happen. And by the way, the numbers that are currently being displayed by ICE and other official agencies are negligible, and no one even knows how legitimate they even are. On top of that, you got the situation in Iran, and then you got the Epstein files. You got the executive order in the beginning of January that kicks visa-holding students out for saying free Palestine, essentially. And so, like, Trump did nothing except make the United States an Israeli stronghold, if you really think about it. So you're complaining about everybody attacking you. I mean, you use your power, though. So if everybody in the Democratic Party was involved in rigging the election and election corruption, go persecute them. Go prosecute them the same way you've been doing to Gavin Newsom, sending the DOJ after his house in California and trying to attack his wife. You're trying to find the skeletons of your political adversary. You're trying to find the skeletons in their closets of your political adversaries. All right, do that for all the people that were involved in the election fraud. You have the entire United States. You have everything that you would need. You have all of the plays. You have everything in line. I mean, really a Republican president's dream. And all he does is go a year into his administration, almost a year in, he goes, well, you know, they rigged the election 6 years ago. Okay, so go arrest them. Or have arrests been made? Right now, we're fighting a forever war with Iran. U.S. soldiers are dying for Israel because there's no benefit even if we successfully overthrow the Iranian regime. Actually, I'd argue it's worse for the United States if we overthrow the Iranian regime because then it gives Israel every more of that reason to undermine us. And this dude is talking about election fraud. So it's just L after L. It's always like Trump chickening out. He says he's going to bomb Iranian infrastructure. He said that months ago. He says he's going to bomb the power plants. He says he's going to bomb the entire country. He's going to send it back to the Stone Age. Pete Hegseth saying the same thing. Does none of it. Pisses the IRGC off. Makes them more scared. Makes them more ready for a threat. Makes them attack the Gulf in retaliation for our threats and or our aggression against their coastline for controlling the strait, which we cannot stop. And he's talking about election fraud. Who's eating that shit up? Only the stupid 40-year-old MAGA shills are, of course. Only the ones in Randy Fine's district, only the ones in Thomas Massey's district that voted them in and voted them out, voting Randy Fine in because he's likely going to win, voting Thomas Massey out. These are the people that are eating it up. People think no one believes this. People think everybody's against Trump. Yeah, his approval rating is low, but there's still a lot of people buying this bullshit. You know, applauding Trump for exposing election corruption. Look, I'm not against that. That's good, but like time and place and also do something about it. It's always this with him. It's always this with him. When are we going to stop falling for it? You know? Well, I blew the lid. If you go on whitehouse.gov/corruption or whatever it is. Like, bro, you control the Supreme Court and you still can't get birthright citizenship revoked. You tell the Supreme Court with your appointed justices, hey, no more birthright citizenship, and they smack you in your face and say no, even though you appointed those judges. The Senate is slowly but surely turning against you. The House is slowly but surely turning against you. Democrats have already taken a majority representation in their anti-Israel rhetoric. More than half of them voted to cut aid for Israel. And here he is talking about election fraud and glazing Netanyahu and giving him his forever war and killing U.S. soldiers in the process. And everybody's eating up the election fraud speech. It's just disgusting. It's honestly disgusting. Guys, I hope the stream doesn't cut. This rain is really bad. Hopefully my internet doesn't go out. So bear with me here. But anyways.
So it's the cost to, and that has all kinds of like generational ramifications. So the costs to us are higher than we perceive. Trump's psychology here is recognizable. When cornered, Trump just goes, does the crazy person thing. Now, to what extent that reflects his true psyche? Is he actually a crazy person? Nah, not entirely. Trump is very smart in some ways, as you know. Obviously, he's very smart in some ways, very perceptive in some ways. But when cornered, he behaves like this, and he did it in public. I mean, in case you don't recall, his argument with John McCain back in 2016, where when pushed on John McCain, he attacks the guy for getting captured by the North Vietnamese army. And it's like, really, of all the things you could attack McCain on, and that list is long, you attack him on the one thing that seems like a virtue, really? But that's the way he behaves when he's cornered. And unfortunately, now the stakes are just incalculably higher than they were 10 years ago because Iran is a real country and it's backstopped by China and Russia and a lot of the rest of the world. So, like, this is really scary. Here's the one.
Yeah, and Iran's got these missiles, by the way, some of them not even being hypersonic, that the United States air defense still can't get through. Or really still can't defend from, rather, I should say, sorry. So they don't even need to utilize their incredibly fast hypersonic missiles that can make it to Israel in like sub 11 minutes. They don't even need to use those. And they're killing U.S. soldiers with these ballistic missiles. The non-hypersonic ones, ostensibly, from what I've read. So,
fact that I think could get this to resolution, and that is not, the brilliance or the strategic wisdom of American leaders or even the reasonableness of the Iranians. I think they're feeling pretty unreasonable at this point. Once you kill their pope, it tends to do that. But the fact is global energy supply. And as you well know, I think you guys have written about it, the only reason that Brent crude was at 71 and not, 171 is because China stopped buying oil. Millions and millions of barrels were not purchased by China, and they've absorbed that through their own SPR. And so, but the truth is we don't have the capacity to keep oil markets stable anymore because we've drawn down so dramatically on our own strategic reserves that, like, sometime soon, I mean, there are different projections on this, but likely this summer, if the Strait remains.
They've said July, they've said August, they've said the fall. I've heard different things. Maybe the fall.
Closed. You're going to have an energy crisis, like an actual energy crisis. And we can't even, the world has never really had an energy crisis of that kind ever. We can't really conceive of what that means, but it means true economic disaster, and economic disaster, obviously.
And by the way, for what progress? All this economic disaster, yet Iran still maintains its stockpile of missiles, yet Iran still maintains its stockpile of drones, yet Iran still likely maintains its highly enriched uranium and its centrifuges that are dug up underground, buried underneath the ground, several miles under the ground, that we have not launched a boots-on-ground invasion to seize, which was the idea that was flirted with back in April and March. That hasn't happened. So, we're destroying the economy, and we're reaching record level lows of reserves, and Iran kind of still possesses the same exact capabilities. Maybe some military logistical infrastructure is destroyed. They'll rebuild it, whatever. Tunnel systems are blocked. They'll excavate it out of the way. Then what? We're back to ground zero. And by the way, we've done this 7-day offensive, and we're going to respond for these two U.S. soldiers being killed. Now Iran is going to, I'm going to predict what's going to happen right now. Iran is going to respond and hit the Gulf very hard, and then it's all going to stop. And we're going to say, okay, enough is enough, peace. And then we're going to do some MOU bullshit again, and then we're going to fight again. But eventually it's going to get to a level where Iran is going to completely refuse diplomacy unless they are met with explicit guarantees and large sums of money that the United States will not attack them again. And Israel's going to have to be involved in that in some capacity, so long as they're staying aggressive in southern Lebanon, anywhere south of the Litani River, which is their security buffer zone because of Hezbollah aggression and missiles in the north. You can't make a better quagmire than this. This is the worst one. So,
gives way to social unrest, produces social unrest. So Trump knows that. He gets energy markets. He knows they're set internationally. He's not in control of the price of oil. I mean, come on. And so I honestly don't know what's going on because they know that this is coming. I mean, like in August, next month, not at some future date when we'll all be dead, like before Labor Day, potentially.
So, we'll see. I don't like to do the projections and stuff. That stuff is so hard to predict. But apparently Tucker put this Muslim lady in her place. I don't know. I saw the caption. I thought this would be good for the stream. So let's see. We're farming Tucker today, I suppose. Oh, I had some chats. I apologize. Let me read these very quickly before we continue. Zayden says, not going to lie, you're aura farming with your setup right now. Rain and thunderstorm overlooking the city at night. Some new aura type shit. Love, Riyadh. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of aura, right? It's kind of vibey. This is a vibey stream. Got the rain going, lightning, that thunderstorm or whatever, that crack of thunder scared the shit out of me. That actually scared me earlier, if you saw that. But yeah, let's keep going here.
We
Let's see
punish
what
the
Tucker has to
wrongdoers,
say.
and most people have nothing to do with this, so we don't kill them too.
So Israeli leaders and many ordinary Israelis as well reject the idea that this is a genocide. I hear that that is your view. I will just say that the idea of fighting a war in a just way is not simply a Western idea. It's not only a Western Christian idea that there are limits to war and you only strike in self-defense. I'm a Muslim, and I can tell you that actually if you read the Quran, that idea is there as well. So it's not a purely Western concept.
Oh, I wouldn't claim that it is a purely Western concept. My point is it's the basis of Western civilization. And to the extent that other civilizations share that view, I applaud it, of course. And by the way, you say that some Israelis don't think it's genocide. Well, everybody else on the planet, so far as I can tell, looking at the facts, concludes it's genocide. I don't know if there's any other group on planet Earth who doesn't see this as genocide.
Many governments don't see it that way. Your government doesn't. The British government doesn't.
Well, your government and my government are paying for it. So, of course, they're implicated in the genocide, and they share the guilt of this genocide. It is happening. There's no excuse for it. We should do everything we can to stop it immediately.
I heard you on a recent episode talking about marriage, wives respecting husbands, authority resting with the man as the final decision maker. You are a father of daughters, and so...
You are a father of daughters. I fucking hate English accents.
Just wanted to understand what you believe, whether you think in their relationships, like their husbands should always be the final decision makers.
Duh, we know that. We know that. And where's the hijab at, nigga? Where's it? All right, let me be nice.
Well, obviously, I'm never going to talk about my children. I mean, that's like an
That was such a Tucker response. Well, obviously, I'm never going to talk about my children. Oh. Tucker does this like cheesy, weird, like Caven thing. It's just like so weird, bro. Chat, am I crazy? Tucker does this like, he does this weird jottle inwards with his body. Oh shit, I had more chats, I'm sorry. Yo, I'm over here slacking. Oh, hello, Riyadh. My earlier question about the 3 book recommendations was more self-improvement / education. Sorry to go off topic. Atomic Habits. That's the best one I have for self-improvement. I don't really read self-improvement books, I'm not going to lie. Atomic Habits is good. It's really mainstream. Everybody knows that one, but it's good. Mind you, I read it a long time ago, but it's good. KB Moss. What? Oh, Nepo tax. All right. A lot of ends there. Nepo tax, let go. Yeah, boys, drop your Nepo tax so we can see Riyadh at DebateCon 9 2027. W Riyadh, W Myron. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, maybe you'll see me there. Thank you for the 5. Thank you for the 5. I'll branch out to that direction very soon. Trust, guys. Trust. Let's scrub back, though. Let's scrub back, because I kind of fell away into the super chats.
Men are paying for it. So, of course, they're implicated in the genocide, and they share the guilt of
Relationships, like their husbands should always be the final decision makers.
Well, obviously, I'm never going to talk about my children. I mean, that's like an insane question that I'm going to ignore without being offended. But I can give you my views. In a happy marriage, at least I know in my own, I've been married 35 years next month. You know, I wouldn't say I have more power than my wife. There's no one whose opinion I care more about. If my
All right. Come on, Tucker. Come on.
wife wants something, I'll just do it. It's certainly not a matter.
No. What is this? Look, okay. Don't worry. I'm not about to go full Myron mode. We love women. We respect women. I've talked to millions and millions of women. But allow me to go Myron mode for just a moment. No, okay. You know, guys like conflate all of this. Bro, it's very clear in a relationship, in a household. By the way, my epistemic framework, but where I'm getting this from, my moral framework, my baseline, my foundation is the Quran. And by the way, all of this is biblically consistent anyways, whether it be the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament or anything like that. This is Abrahamic, which is the fact that the woman is the subordinate and the man is the leader. That's it. I'm not going to go crazy and say, shut up, bitch. Like, no, I'm not. It's just that simple. So if my wife tells me what to do, yeah, I mean, will I follow her orders if they're in line with my interests? Yeah. But I'm the final shot caller. I'm the final decision maker. I'm the man of the house, right? And some things do necessitate that reality. There are certain sets of criteria that necessitate that reality. For me to be the man of the house, I've got to earn. I got to be physically strong. I got to be witty, charismatic, funny, smart, sexy, hot, shredded. I got to be all those things. That's fine. I'm willing to put up with those standards so long as you take the backseat position, because that's what God commands. And we're not going to sit here and do the theology thing and try and twist scripture and say, that's not what God commands. That's just the way it works. And I think we've made this topic far too taboo. I think that there's been way too much scrutiny and like conflation on like, well, what are gender roles really? And where are the red lines for a woman? I don't know about you. I know my red lines for my woman. My girl wants to have a job. Okay, go have a job. But when it's time to have kids, which by the way is the sole purpose of the relationship, you're not going to work a fucking job. Your job is the children. Your job is taking care of those children. Nothing else. It's maternity. That's it. That's what I'm expecting out of you. That's why I'm with you. Hey, I don't know if do you guys get into relationships and or have the desire of marrying a woman to share conversation with her every day and like be her best friend and run into the pond with her on some like rom-com shit? That's not like how I envision it. Look, I'm not saying I'm going to hate my wife. I had this conversation on Sneako stream. We were in the car talking about it. We were talking about the Tate compound versus living with the girl, whatever. You can go find that clip. I'm not going to get into that. But ultimately, look, the purpose of a relationship is to procreate. That's what it's for. And so as a woman, your greatest point of leverage, by the way, but your sole purpose is to take care of that child, especially at those young ages, but really spanning from birth all the way up until 12, 13, 14. Until that kid is really old enough, or that son or that daughter is old enough to fend for themselves. And I'm a believer that kids really do become adults at like 14, 15. I know people are going to say, Riyadh, that's crazy. Look, you're 14 or 15, you know wrong from fucking right. I see these 14 and 15-year-olds doing these crazy crimes, waving guns at people in New Haven. Now lock that nigga up. He's a grown man, okay? We're not having sympathy for 14 and 15-year-olds being related to gun trafficking charges and stuff. No, they need the same punishment as an adult. It's very unlikely they're going to grow out of that. So, you know, I'm not saying she's got to be raising the kids until they're 21 and spoon feeding them. But look, you're the subordinate. And if I'm the leader in the relationship and you're a Muslim and I'm Muslim, or you're a Christian and I'm Christian, whatever situation it is, or whatever situation you're thinking of for yourself, if you have some sense of traditionalism, and I hate saying that, by the way, like traditional, Tradcon, like I hate saying that because I just don't like the connotation that's associated with it. But it's true. It is biblical. So, yeah, I don't even know why Tucker's like shying away from this. You know, like Tucker's obviously flinching and kind of deflecting. We'll let him finish his answer here. But, you know, and Tucker's all about traditional. Tucker's fishing. Tucker's hunting. Tucker's got the cabin in Maine, I think. Like, it doesn't get more traditional than that. Like, the nigga lives in New England with a cabin. So, you know, I would think that what follows is telling your wife, hey, I want this done, and that's not up for debate. Here's the difference between a leader and a subordinate. I'll tell you the difference. When I tell my wife to do, and this is, hey, YouTube, this is based on the Quran, okay? This is based on the Quran. This is my religious epistemic framework. When I tell you do something, it's not up for debate, okay? If I ask, and I'm not going to say, hey, bitch, I'm not doing that, but I'm going to respectfully, with dignity, because that's my wife, tell her, hey, I need X, Y, Z done. I'd like if you did this. Please, if you could, fill in the blank. Whatever it is, okay? Many different situations call for many different requests and or tasks that I need done. And so you can use your imagination to fill in that blank. But if I ask her to do something, it needs to be done. And it's not up for debate. Now, she can add nuance to it, but like she's not going to full on reject it. Like, and I don't want to be a tyrant, but, you know, like this is kind of how the relationship works. If she asks me to do something, so long as it's not conflicting with my productivity and or my interest, I'll do it. But the difference is, because I'm the leader, when she asks me to do something, that's actually up for debate. And I reserve the right to debate it because I'm running the show. That's just how it is. I'm the leader of the house. You want me to be the breadwinner, the earner, the leader. You want to turn your brain off. That's what the girls say. I want to turn my brain off and just have a good time with my man. babe, turn your brain off. I got the whole night covered. Don't worry about it. We'll have a great time. Don't worry. When 5 swordsmen come out of the alleyway and 5 gunmen come out of the opposite alleyway, you run. I'm going to fight them and I'll come back unscratched, unscathed. We'll have a great night. No problem. But with that also necessitates something else simultaneously, which is the fact that when I ask you to do something, there is no debate. Okay, and when you ask me to do something, I actually can debate it because I'm the leader. And so I would like to think that delivery is fair, but girls hear that and they go, what, are you stuck in 1950? No, I just like want a traditional, like kind of like, you know, Quran, like Bible, like relationship. That's all. That's all. God forbid, I want something that like is in unison with human biology and what humans have done for thousands of years. And look, like the reason why I say there's kind of this negative connotation with traditionalism and stuff is because you think of Tradcon and like you just think of like Charlie Kirk and it's like, that's just cringe. That's not what I'm talking about. Like this super traditional, you know what I mean? Or who else could I even think of? You know, I'm not thinking of these old heads. Like I'm a young cat. All right, I'm 24. I don't want to be corny about it. But yeah, like I'm the leader. Like I'm the leader. Like God forbid the nigga want to run the house. Nigga's gonna run the house. That's it, babe. That's it. So when I get married, God willing, inshallah, I get married. Not that soon, but at some point in the future. You know, when I get married, those are going to be the guidelines that, by the way, I lay out for my wife. I lay out for her and I leave that to her. I say, look, I'm going to call the shots. And you can try and call a shot, but your shot can be shot the fuck down. Just so you know. Do you agree with the set of stipulations? Yeah, I agree. Okay, perfect. Then we're... And she's still going to fight me later. That's the nature of it. It's fine. That's the whole point of marriage. We're in it together. We're fighting together. It's not supposed to be pretty the whole way. But, you know, this is what it is. And so, you know, I don't think this is hard to articulate and or explain. But, like, you know, Tucker gets this question. He does a... It's like, bro, just don't, like, just... I'm the leader. I call the shots. So we'll let him finish. Maybe he reels it back. Maybe he saves it. Maybe he saves it. But I would even think any of the women in the chat agree with this. Yeah, do you want to be with some cucked out guy that you've got to be the masculine figure for? A girl doesn't want to use her brain and figure out where she's eating and what she's doing and what the next set of plans are for the backyard. And that's your job. Now, she can throw in her input, but because I'm the leader, I can tell you that input is ass. Nigga, we're not doing... Babe, I want to build a gazebo. No, there's no space for a gazebo. Okay, and that's that. That's Riyadh's house, okay? I don't know about your house, nigga. I don't know about... Well, my wife says she wants a gazebo. I just build the gazebo. Happy wife, happy life. Fuck you, okay? This is how it goes. And by the way, this is why women have become so emboldened and like walk all over men, because you niggas let them. You niggas let them. God forbid a girl comes across me, I know how to say no. She's like shocked. So, but if there's space in the backyard for a gazebo and she says, I want to build a gazebo, I'm like, okay, babe, we'll build a gazebo. No problem. Love you. Love you, no problem. We'll build a gazebo. We'll make it happen. Get the hammer. How do you build that shit? What do you need? A hammer? Doesn't it go in by like the pins? But you get the point, right? But when I say no, it's no. And that's the way it works. And that's the way it works. Now, is she always going to be happy about my no's and my denials and my rejections? Of course, she's going to fight it. Of course. Okay, that's fine. But so long as you know what I say goes, that's the greater point you understand. That's the larger picture that must be agreed on by two parties in a marriage. But look, I come from a traditional household. I come from an Arab traditional household. I come from a traditional Muslim household. So like that's just what I've seen my whole life. Don't shoot me for being a product of my environment. Sorry. I like to think I was raised well. So
matter of bossing anyone around. But yeah, somebody ultimately has to make the decision, and women in general want the man to make the decision, as you well know.
Good, Tucker. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. But still, I don't like this. I don't like this here.
Around. But about if my wife wants something, I'll just do it. It's certainly
no. Like that's no. No. You reserve the right as the leader to just not do it. Okay? Not I'll just do it. No, it's you do what you see fit for the house. That is descriptive of your position, i.e. the leader. So we have to be careful with our words here, because a girl's going to take that and run 1,000,000 miles with it. She's going to take that and launch the football down the field. She's going to Joe Flacco that shit in the end zone to Jacoby Jones. You can't, no. No, 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 no. Okay? That's not how it works. The way it works is, I like it, it happens. I don't like it, goodbye. Shot that shit down. Out of here. Hey, let me tell you something. When your girl walks into the boss's office and she proposes an idea to the boss and the boss says, that's stupid, I'm not doing it, does she fight the boss? Or she shows up the next day to make him richer, nigga? Let me ask you that. So if she has that same respect for the boss at her corporate workplace, which she's probably necking off in the back anyways, then where's that respect for you? Why can't you say no? So to all the men out there, really, I'm not talking to Tucker directly, but to all the men out there, really, think about that. Again, I don't want to go red pill rage, but like, dude, like these things get me so mad. These things get me so mad. You know? God forbid you as the husband, you say, hey, you know, I'd really prefer if you kind of did the laundry, or I'd really prefer. And look, you got to have the right system set up in place. You want an obedient, traditional girl, and God bless you. That's the right thing to want. You better have your ducks in a row, though, nigga. A lot of guys want that kind of girl. They don't have their shit together. This is true. This is true. I'm taking the girl's side now. No. But never. But this is true. You know what I'm saying? So I will admit, many men don't have their shit straight. And I know that. I know that. You know, I'm out in the world. I have a job. I see a lot of guys out here. I see the way a lot of these guys move out here. Niggas don't got their shit straight. Niggas are all over the place. They're discombobulated. And so they are not in a position to actually demand a traditional and obedient wife. You don't have that leverage yet. But certainly once you have that leverage and once you're established, then it's upon you. It is your God-given right to demand that type of relationship, to demand those dynamics between the two of you. You know? And by the way, these are guidelines you set up in the beginning. Don't be afraid. Look, a lot of guys are like, oh, I'm just afraid to tell that. Like, and here's the thing. Every guy watching this is like, wow, he is so right now. But how many guys watching this would have the courage to tell this to their significant other? Probably less than half. And that's the problem. We have to be honest, not because we're misogynistic, evil tyrants. Oh my God, heavens, no. All right, enough Tucker impressions. Not because we're misogynistic, evil tyrants, but because honesty matters for healthy longevity in a relationship and or marriage. There's no surprises later. You can't come out of nowhere in 5 years into your marriage and say, well, actually, I feel like you don't listen, and I feel like you just skip over the dishes and leave all of these feminine tasks to me, and I feel like I'm always taking care of the kid, and I shouldn't be having to pick them up from practice. I work 12 hours a day or something like that. You know, okay, but she has every right to shoot that shit down because you never made that apparent in the beginning. She thought that she was going to wear the pants. So from the get-go, from the very beginning, don't be afraid of losing her because she's so pretty. Do your future self a favor. My sister always tells me this. This is like her favorite motto. She always says, do your future self a favor. She told me that once, but I really liked it. And set up those guidelines in the beginning of your relationship and so that later on you're not cooked. Don't try to say this shit later. So really have your shit in order. You know, have your ducks in a row. So look, anyways, going back to what Tucker was saying, you know, it's definitely not, oh, if my wife wants something, I'll do it. What if your wife wants something that's detrimental for her and you or the house or the kids or the dogs? You got to shoot that shit down. You got to shoot that shit down. So.
Not a matter of bossing anyone around. But yeah, somebody.
No, I'm bossing around. I'm the boss.
He ultimately has to make the decision, and women.
And he's saying the same thing twice. He's saying it one way in a very acceptable, palatable fashion. And the other way would be just to say very simply put, I'm the boss. And you might as well just be upfront and abrasive about it. I'm the boss.
In general.
What? What can anybody do about it? I'm the boss, huh?
Want the man to make the decision, as you well know. And
well,
men who won't make, well, no, I do know. And I do know. And the women who won't admit that are not telling the truth. And in fact, the thing that I have noticed that women dislike most is men who won't make decisions and they have contempt for them. And I've never met a woman who didn't feel that way. I've met a lot of women who pretend they don't feel that way. But in real life, I think that women see that as weakness, which it is. I don't think we should lie about the way people are. Men and women are not the same. They're not even close to the same. They're incredibly different. And that's not bad. I think it's a good thing. The pretending that men and women are the same, which has kind of been mandatory, certainly it's like wrecked the UK, I can say, and I think really hurt the United States also. That's going to end. The rest of the world makes fun of it. It's too stupid. And until you know that and grapple with it honestly, you can't have a happy relationship with a member of the opposite sex. And that's one of the reasons we don't have very many happy relationships, because liars have told us that acknowledging sex differences determined before birth leads to the oppression of one of the sexes. And in fact,
And you know what it is? It's not even the liars, but it's the men not counter-signaling those lies. It's men sitting there and accepting this new idea and wave of feminism and allowing women to wear pants in the relationship, which is self-destruction for the women. They just don't know that. So it's on us to change the rule book a little bit. It's on us to say this is the way it works, or really revert the rule book back to the way it should have been. Go back to the Bible, go back to the Quran. But men don't want to do that. Men just want to go with the flow and say whatever, happy wife, happy life. And it's like, no, you kind of, and some men may argue it's feministic. No, you got to fight. You got to be a fighter. You got to say, no, I'm not doing that. Yes, I'm doing that. No, I don't want that. If you don't like that, goodbye. And that's the thing too. This is why, I was about to get really black. This is why, like, it's important to understand you can have options if need be. So you need to be the best man you could possibly be. You don't want to be some shit, shallow, frail, tiny, ugly ass dude who's of no value, because when you get yourself a girl that's actually decent looking, when you get yourself a pretty girl who's kind and sweet and soft toned, you're going to hang on to it. Like, you're going to clutch onto it and you will never let go. And the problem with that is you may clutch onto the wrong thing, which is the wrong girl. You just won't see it because you don't understand you have options. But like me, myself, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I don't even want to use myself as an example. But if you're a good looking guy, if you're in shape, if you've got your shit together and you've got yourself a pretty girl who's just not checking out when it comes to the dynamics in the relationship and her actions and your actions and how that all tallies up in a relationship, well then it shouldn't be hard for you to pull out, because you know you can get that again, because you are like that. You are him. You are a high level man, you know? So it all culminates into one thing, right? You cannot cut corners. You have to be an excellent man so you can exercise these options. You can't be an average man and combat feminism, bro. You'll get shat on because the girl's going to make more money than you, dumbass. You want to be an average guy and combat feminism? Good luck. The girl's going to be making $250,000 a year. That's the truth. That's the truth. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't get mad at me, at the guys in here. If you're an average guy making $80K a year, God bless you. That's good salary. That's good money, whatever. You get by. But don't think that you can just run the ranks and tell a girl what to do whenever you want to tell her what to do, because she might screw around and get a job that pays double, because it's that easy for women to make that much money these days. And so when that's the case, how could she possibly listen to you? So if you want to run the show, good, but you need to earn the rights to run the show, which have gone too high, must I admit. The rights to run the show, the rights for a man to call the shots, those standards have gone far higher. You know, back in the 50s, you could just work at a factory and like build quarter panels for Ford or build fenders for some motor company, make an honest living, come home and expect dinner made every day and your wife to be obedient. Yeah, that's not the case anymore. You want to tell your girl what to do, you want to run the shots, you want to run the show, call the shots, whatever it is, fine. That's good. Like, I'm encouraging you to do, but like, you kind of need to have like a Lamborghini now. That's just, it's the inflation. Don't get mad at me. That's the inflation. And obviously I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, right? But you need to have your shit together. You do need to be ahead of a lot of people your age. You do. So you got to make a lot of money. And listen, as much as people say the recession and the economy and the inflation and there's money on the table for the taking. I live in a pretty affluent area. I live around a lot of rich people, and a lot of these people around where I live, they make a shit ton of money. And they just made the right moves at the right times, and it's all new money around me. Meaning all these people have become rich in the last 5 or 10 years, last 2 years, last 1 year. Figure it out. Get to the bread, get to the bag, get to the chicken. Okay, so you can tell your girl to shut up when you want to. That's a joke. That's a joke. It's not.
It's wound up resulting in the oppression of women in the United States. I'll speak for my country, by big companies. Our economic system has applied a lot of pressure on young women to choose like working over having kids. And I think women should be able to choose whatever they want. And most people, men and women, find the deepest expression of joy in their lives in their families, in their spouse, and in their children. And if you lie to them and wind up denying them that greatest source of human joy, you are evil. And so I just want to say that out
True. So true, Tucker.
loud, that feminism is an op run by big business to lower the price of labor and to free up a massive...
Well, whoever started feminism doesn't matter now because it's become its own entity owned by women.
An incredibly productive female workforce, and that's been bad for the country.
I know that my life chances have been fundamentally different from my mother's. And a lot of that is because of the feminist movement, right? She had aspirations to work outside the home. It just wasn't possible. There was more of a patriarchal system. There wasn't childcare. It would have been frowned upon. And I've been really lucky to be able to have a marriage and children and contribute to my family's economic well-being. And I would say I do owe that to the feminist movement, that balance.
By the way, congratulations. I'm all for happy endings and people getting what they want and people being content. But are women in the West happier than they were in 1972? And the answer is no. There are all kinds of different views about how a family should be organized. And there are people who take the traditional side, and we talk a lot about them. But there's another side to this that is an economic interest in convincing women that their loyalty belongs to a company and not a family. People are starting to realize that the government doesn't care for you. Your employer, they don't care about you. But if you tell young people, like, the company is dad and the company really loves you, you're lying to them. Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, look, we just live in an interesting time in society where women hold jobs and take care of the family. That just won't be the situation in my house, okay? Okay, I'm a numbers guy, okay? And I'm seeing the divorce rates through the roof. Ostensibly, divorce is going down, they say, but I just think that's because there's less marriages. So, so Tim Dillon, he's commenting on this war in Iran. He's a reactionary, he's a commentator, he's pretty funny. And I saw this clip. I didn't get to watch all of it. I always say that. I'm not lying. I have like TikTok brain, so I don't finish these clips. But I like to save them for stream so I can react to them with you guys. So
this tour for a book. We're days away from troops on the ground in Iran. The Middle East is a total nightmare. The economy is a nightmare. The Straits...
Dude, it's so true. It's just like everything is done.
Of Hormuz, there's going to be like a...
Yo, if there's boots on ground in Iran, do you know what the casualties are going to be? Let's pray it doesn't get to that point. Let's pray. I mean, all roads are kind of leading to Rome. Okay, not to be demoralizing. I know we've been negative talking about the 9 to 5 and shit, but all roads are kind of leading to Rome, bro.
Massive oil crisis soon. And they've given so much money to big tech and AI, the flock cameras, all of this stuff.
Dude, these flock cameras, people are going crazy with the flock. Yo, I spoke about that, vindicated. I spoke about this like 3 months ago. I was saying, guys, did you hear of flock? No one in the chat knew what flock was. Nah, a few people didn't know. LARPing a little bit. And if you guys don't know, you must have been under a rock, but flock is this mass surveillance system in the United States, these cameras that have what's called ALPRs, automatic license plate readers, and they can pretty much track information, track vehicles, track vehicle data, and or pattern recognition of people walking the streets, and they can even track things as closely as a walk pattern. So if they can't recognize the face, they can still see who it is. It uses AI, it integrates AI, and really it's this mass surveillance system that uses AI to discern all the information inside of this database, and so that they can hire the safety and reduce crime, but it's posed a legitimate security risk and or an invasion of privacy to the American people. And people argue it amends the Constitution and all these different things, but it's caused a lot of uproar. And there's a couple flock cameras in my area, so I mean, it's over for me though. Like, bro, I've got an iPhone, I use AI, government's got me already.
All of this, they're building a surveillance state with this money. They're building a digital surveillance state with...
They really are, and Trump is enabling it, by the way. A lot of this surveillance state has been allowed by the Trump administration. Trump's been real quiet about it. It's kind of been like under the noses of everybody, but Trump has enabled so many of these complicated AI integrated surveillance systems across the United States, Flock being one of them. So, guys, you think this is a joke here? I'll show you. Here, let's go to DFlock real quick. So, it's a website called DFlock where you can see all of the Flock cameras in the United States. I think this is accurate. Who knows? We're having fun, though. We'll play around with it, but this is what everybody's referencing. Yeah, these are all the cameras. So, you know, you can see where I'm at in Connecticut. There's a bunch. New York is just, forget about it. Dude, New York is cooked. You know, but they're really all across the United States. Of course, more common in the densely populated areas. San Francisco. You go to SoCal here. Same thing. San Diego. LA. So, yeah, wow. LA is really littered with them. Goodness gracious. So, let's see. Let's go somewhere random. Let's... South Dakota. Yeah, this is nuts. Where else can we go? I'm having fun with this here. Miami. Somebody tell Myron, don't go outside, bro. The Flock cameras are watching him. Yeah, so, you know, that's Flock. If you're unfamiliar. And what they look like. You may have never seen them. They're pretty discreet, honestly. This is what they look like, though. So that's a Flock camera. Sometimes they're stood up by these black poles, though. Traditionally, I've seen them look like this, if I can find a photo. This is what they look like. So, yeah, this is what everybody's upset about. They're planted all across the U.S. Like I said, from this map, they're essentially everywhere. How accurate is this, chat? I don't know. I assume it's pretty accurate, right? Look at the capital of Connecticut, Hartford. There's a few. Now, they're not, like, absolutely everywhere, but you can imagine where this is going in the next 3 years. You know, like, they will be absolutely everywhere. They already kind of are, but, like, you can kind of see how you can be somewhere within their blind spot, but, right, like, if you're in Tampa Heights, I guess you're kind of chilling. Arlington Heights North, maybe you got a few. So, you know, they're around. They're around.
With the money...
Tim, where'd your voice go? Oh, there we go.
He's got to do this kind of like, aw, shucks. Can you, yeah, isn't it whack? Isn't it wacky? Joe, isn't it wacky? Isn't it wacky being VP? It's like, it's so wacky. I tell myself all the time, I have to pinch myself. It's crazy. This guy's on a press tour for a book. We're days away from troops on the ground in Iran.
Oh, yeah, we're real close to that. So, One Chest said Chicago. Let's look at Chicago. One Chest, you're over there, right? Let's take a look. Let's get it back up. Let's crank it up. Let's see. Whoa. Yo, One Chest, stay inside, bro. Nah, but I mean, look, you know, people kind of take it too far. Look, yeah. Could this be used by the government for malicious purposes? Duh. But in my opinion, dude, we're already cooked. I know I have a defeatist mindset sometimes. You know, when people are like destroying these things, dude, you're just not gonna. You're look at my screen. Do you think that's gonna work? They're just gonna throw them back up. There's thousands of these things. And you'll be federally prosecuted for doing that. Don't do that. You know? But yeah, am I a fan of them? No, I'm not a fan. Could they help solve crime? Yeah, in theory they could, but I just don't think it's the way. I think this is an unnecessary means to the end. So no, I'm not in favor of them, but be very careful about, you know, this whole destroy them in a, you know. The government's watching you, so be mindful, okay? But yeah, good amount here in Chicago, even in the suburbs out west. They're littered across the suburbs. Yeah, so is what it is, people. Is what it is. But they're everywhere, dude. You know, and people are saying destroy them. You know, use your head. Use your head. So let's see. We got, oh, and yo, Suliman sat down with the foreign minister, Ismail Bagay, for Iran. So this is 35 minutes. We can, do we have time now? Because I'm kind of over. I'm over time on this stream. But, you know, we'll probably do this tomorrow with my brother. We'll really enjoy this. They talk about the MOU, Lebanon and Gaza, Strait of Hormuz plans, Iran's planned response. You know, to be fair, I've been very extensive on Iran. I don't think there will be any surprises in here, but probably really good content. So we'll react to that maybe tomorrow. We'll go over that. But any developments on the Tate situation, since that's more breaking news, you know, Iran happened like 6 years ago. So no developments as of yet. BRICS News just reported on it. Okay, so I'm seeing different numbers here. So this is saying 7 counts of you-know-what, 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 counts of assault occasioning actual bodily harm, 19 additional charges for offenses relating to the child you-know-what. So seeing kind of different numbers here. You know, of course, you got to be careful when the news just breaks because it's not always that accurate. Everybody's throwing around their own stuff, but
You have
we'll
been
see what comes of that.
I bet it only takes.
All right, guys. So that'll be it. I wanted to go over the Iran situation.
Come over here, Bobby.
Cover the breaking news with the Tates. Crazy, crazy stuff.
Unfair.
But that's pretty much it. I will be back here with... Oh, I have some chats. I apologize. Let me... Yeah, charges are brutal. Really not the... Okay, let's see. Mr. Clapcheek says... Good name. Why is it when blacks go to prison, they suddenly find Allah? It wasn't Bismillah and Inshallah in the streets, but it's behind a jail cell. Well, I mean, the thing about being behind bars, dude, is you, like, have nothing to do. So you find yourself deep in thought, and that tempts people to pick up the holy books. Imagine you have nothing to do for 23 hours a day. I don't know how long their free time is or the yard time is. So, you know, when you're stuck inside of a jail cell, you've got nothing to do all day except for, like, really read and maybe talk to your cellmate who you likely don't even want to talk to. I don't know how it is in prison. I've never been. Hopefully I'll never go. But people tend to pick up the Bible and the Quran, and so they get closer to their faith. And a lot of guys adhere to the Quran or the Muslim faith. And, you know, there is a history of Islam being popular and catching traction amongst the black community. Of course, you got the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, all of that stuff. And so that's been revolutionary for the blacks in Islam. But, yeah, man, these people, you know, if I was in a jail cell all day, I'd probably become like a neuroscientist or something. I don't know. Like, I'd become an expert in something. So people just turn towards religion. Red Pill Clipper says, damn, I just got here. I'm sad. Scrub back, bro. Scrub back. Could you talk about your fitness journey detailed? By the way, Red Pill, I saw you clip that shit. I'm going to kill you. That's a joke, YouTube. That's a joke. We're buddies. We're kidding. Very funny clip. Traveler says, could you talk about your fitness journey detailed? Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about that before I close out stream. So I started my fitness journey at about 160 pounds out of high school. I was 6'1", 160 pounds, very skinny. I would pull up the photos, but it's too much work. I'll do that another time. And so I started training officially my sophomore year of college. Or no, sorry. My junior year of college is when I started taking lifting serious. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just lifting. And I eventually bulked up to about 248 pounds. Believe it or not, I was 248 pounds at my heaviest. And I took the bulk too far. Didn't benefit me after maybe like 195, 200 pounds, but I kept going anyways because I just hated being skinny. And I had that like body blindness. I couldn't tell how fat I was. I was pretty fat. I have photos. And then I cut down to about, well, I bulked the first time to like 220, cut down to like 200. And really, I was at 210, and I got COVID. So I then just, like, lost 10 pounds by accident. So I lost tons of muscle. I looked terrible for my first cut. Then the second time around, I bulked up to 248 to compensate for that. And then now from that bulk is where I am now at about 186 pounds is where I sit. So I'm about 6'1", 6'2", 187-ish pounds. I'm pretty lean, pretty light, a lot lighter than I thought I'd be. I'm still pretty lean at, like, 195, 200. So I'll get back up there once the winter rolls around. I'm a bit, you know, lighter than I would like to be. I feel like I've lost some mass, but I enjoy it. I feel like it's worth it because I'm really lean, and that's just a necessary evil when you get pretty lean. So, yeah, I was 250 at my heaviest. Don't bulk like that. Super stupid. A bulk only needs to be 15 pounds, 20 pounds maybe at most. Anything more than that, you're just going to higher your A1C levels and become insulin resistant. Then you won't be able to put on muscle adequately and partition nutrients. So, Keep the bulks minimal, and when you cut, make sure you eat 1 gram per pound of body weight at minimum, and you are in some sort of calorie deficit when you try to cut. But yeah, pretty lean right now. Should I show the abs on stream? Let's see. One Chest says no one should be fat in 2026. One Chest, pop your link before I get off. Pop your link. I'm 6'2", 280. Dude, you're either a unit or you're fat, man. My body fat percentage, I don't know. My bench, my PR is 315 when I was at my heaviest. But right now it's probably like 250, maybe 275. Maybe. Let's see. One Chest, pop your link in there so I can pin it. One Chest is the official trainer of our community, that being my brother and I. And he is a one-on-one fitness coach that I've seen be host of some very uncanny transformation. So if you're fat and you need to change your body, get with One Chest. Look, he just said, I had a client lose 50 pounds in 6 months. I got that fuckboy laugh. Do I? Hey, come on, Tina. Be nice. All right, there we go. So, chat, should I show my abs? I feel like it's kind of cringe to do that, though. Go to my Instagram, nigga. Here. I do this once a stream to flex on you, fat niggas. So I'm going to flex on you fat niggas again. Let this be your motivation to lose weight, big boy. Here we go. Here we go. Take a look at my Instagram. This is most recent physique update. Okay. That's the back. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? That's, I had like a pound of rice before this. I was carved up like crazy. This is an arm pump. And then this is just a relaxed picture. This is me at like 186-ish, 185. That's where I'm hovering right now. And then I actually posted a photo today on my story. Quick flex. Quick chest day. See that I got the tree branch veins in the shoulder. You kidding me? So yeah, that's where I'm currently sitting with the physique. So if any of you want that kind of transformation from being fat, I got to get the fat photos. I'll get them pulled up. I will show you. But this was the 6-month difference. This was me 6 months ago. So with a little bit of focus, rigorous, focus, a slight calorie deficit, you can get a lot leaner. So yeah, that's me. And honestly, when you get leaner, you appear bigger shirtless. With the shirt, I must admit, you will look smaller, but shirtless, you look bigger. So, yeah, there you go. So get with One Chest if you want that kind of transformation. Look, I want everybody who follows me to be financially excellent, physically excellent, mentally excellent. So if I have the means, I'll always give you guys the sauce. Love all of you guys. You have a great night. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday night. So good to be with all of you. Red Pill says, let me see them abs. I showed you. So have a great night, guys. Scrub back if you missed the Tate story and or the developments in Iran. But we're kind of cruising for a bruising. It's looking like a forever war, unfortunately, in the Middle East. And Saudi Arabia and the Houthis might just be getting started. Who knows? Hopefully that doesn't go any further. But it's hard to tell as of right now. So we'll see where that goes. But love all of you guys. Have a great night and God bless.